Hi everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Okay, so today we are doing my reading vlog, talking all the books that I've read between the 16th and the 22nd of July 2023. Bit of a heads up for everyone, still no 5-star books. What's going on this month? I don't have many books left. I have 4 books left to read, so there is still time, but it is surprising that I haven't reached a 5-star rating yet. Have you read a 5-star book this month? Comment below and let me know what it was. Maybe I'll add it to a future TBR. Now, before I proceed any further, if you have not already, please do subscribe. It does help my channel, and give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to leave a comment below as well, that would be amazing. All right, let's jump right on in with this week's reading vlog. So, I finished Blueberry Blunder by Amanda Flower. This is the 8th book in the Amish Candy Shop mystery series, and I gave this book a total of 4 stars. I'll explain why in a minute, but I have to say it was so great to be back in Harvest, Ohio, and in this world of Amish Candy Shop. I had missed it. It had been 6 months since I had read my last Amish Candy Shop book, and I know for a lot of you it was a lot longer. I was playing catch up. So for those of you who don't know, last year I had not read any of these books, and I went from having read none to getting completely up to date. So therefore it has only been 6 months for me. I read the last one, I think, in December. So it's probably been 7 months actually, but anyway, who's counting? It's been a while for me, and a while is subjective, but for me, too long. So it was good to read Blueberry Blunder, and I know that Amanda Flower is working on her Something Taffy book, which is book number 9 in the series, and I can't wait for that one. So, the premise of this book is that Bailey is talking with her construction manager for her candy factory. However, they can't agree on things, and so she fires him. The next day, he winds up dead, and Charlotte's father is taken in for the murder. Bailey may not like him, but she knows he's innocent, so she sets out to solve the case. So, to my thoughts on this book, and I loved everything on the cozy side of this series, and this book was no exception. Coming back to the series after 6-7 months was like being welcomed back by family with open arms. It was great to catch up with Bailey again, as well as Juliet and Jethro and everyone else. The mystery was so-so, but I mostly come here for the cozy side and not the mystery, and so I can be forgiving of that. The reveal, however, did surprise me, and I cannot wait for the next book in the series. So I gave the book 4 stars. I deducted 1 star for the not so intriguing mystery, but yeah, it was just wonderful to be back in this world with Bailey, with Jethro, with Juliet, and everyone else. I love this world to pieces, and I would love to go back in time and just reread this series again. I mean, I guess I don't have to go back in time. I can just reread the series whenever I want to. I own all the books, but it was just really, really, really nice to be back in this world. And I do highly recommend this series. If you have not read it before, I've said this before, but I'll say it as many times as I can to let everyone know who has not read the series. It is not only an amazing series, but don't let the words Amish Candy Shop throw you off, because it's not doused in Amish lore. In fact, the only real time that anything Amish comes up is when a comparison is being made, such as an Englisher, who is a non-Amish person, would do something this way, whereas a Amish person would do it this way. Aside from that, it's more focused on the candy shop. In this particular book, we're more focused actually on the candy factory that Bailey King is having built. But it more revolves around Bailey King herself as opposed to being Amish. So, yeah, but it's an amazing read. Every single book has something to do with, well, it had a lot to do with food till this point. I guess we're now maybe going into a fruit season, hence why it's called Blueberry Blunder. But yeah, absolutely fantastic book, and just high praise to Amanda Flower for the series as a whole. So once again, for Blueberry Blunder, I gave this book 4 stars, deducting 1 star for the not so intriguing mystery, but loved everything else. Speaking of having waited about 6-7 months to pick up a book, let's now try about 3 years to pick up a book. So let's put this book up on the screen. It is The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakavic, and that is the next book that I read. Okay, so this book is oh goodness me, it's a YA LGBTIQ plus contemporary. Okay, I'm stumbling here because it's really, really hard to categorize this book for what it is. I don't even know if I would call it YA. I'm not someone who necessarily believes in the rating of new adult, but this is probably the perfect personification of what new adult is. It's that bridge between YA and adult. But it is claimed to be an LGBTIQ+, and having now completed this book, I'm a little surprised at that, because we do have an LGBTIQ+ side character, but that's really it. Now, maybe things, change over the course of the series, but certainly for book 1, I would call this a contemporary/sports book. And, so the reason why it's been 3 years for me is that I picked up this book around about 3-ish years ago, and I ended up shelving it. So very quickly, in case you weren't aware, when you DNF a book, you pick up a book, you don't like it, you don't want to keep reading it, so you DNF it, you did not finish, and you don't go back to it again. But if you started a book and you're just putting it down temporarily, insert joke here, temporarily for 3 years, but anyway, you're putting a book down temporarily, but you do plan to go back to it, then that's called a shelve. You're just putting it back on your shelf, knowing you'll get back to it at some point. So that's what I did 3 years ago. I started this book, and I had missed 3 important nuggets of information. At the time, I was very distracted while I was reading this book, so I decided to just shelve this book and get back to it when I was in a better state of mind, and continued on with the rest of my TBR for that particular month. And I finally, 3 years later, got back to it. You know what? I have to say, overall, I am glad that I didn't DNF. I'm glad I shelved this book, because it ended up being a really good book, and I am very, very, very strongly thinking of having this series, which is called the All for the Game series, on my SAS list in 2023. So let's talk about the premise of this book, and maybe you can determine if this is a book you might want to pick up in the future. Oh, before I do, this is an indie pubbed book. Nora Sakavic independently published this book, so support your indie authors, and this is one way to do that. So to the premise of this book, Exie is a sport that combines the sticks of lacrosse, the field used for soccer, and walls like squash. Neil Jostin has had a tough life growing up. The only thing that kept him going was Exie. One day, in his run downtown after a match, the coach from the PSU Foxes, a college team, drops by to offer Neil a full scholarship. Neil doesn't know whether to sign up or not, but when the coach tells him the team is all about giving second chances, Neil jumps on board. However, being that everyone on the team is getting a second chance means they all come with their own drama. Can Neil keep his head down, or will he end up being involved in the drama too? Only time will tell. So, to my thoughts on this completed book, and I actually, as I said, picked up the book in 2020 and shelved it because I was too distracted while reading it 3 years on, and I have to say this time I was fully focused, and the first thing I realized is just how much Nora Sakavic loves exposition. There is so much exposition in the first half of the book. While I get that there is a lot to grasp, I just feel there are better ways she could have gone about piecing and parceling out all the information. In saying that, the plot itself was a whole lot of fun. The ending was a cliffhanger I had no idea was coming, and I'm intrigued to see how this affects things moving forward in book 2. All in all, I grew to love the team and their flair for the dramatics, and can't wait to get on to book 2. Please be mindful, as I referenced earlier, while this is marketed as an LGBTIQ plus book, that's more because of a side character being gay. So I do hope that we get to see more of an LGBTIQ plus side play out through the remainder of the series, because it's interesting. I need to just quickly take a moment to explain what I'm saying here, because this is coming across as a bit confusing. When you're marketing a book as an LGBTIQ plus book, the expectation is that it is going to be LGBTIQ plus themed. This book is not. The side character that I'm referring to, who just so happens to be gay, is exactly that. They are a side character. We don't follow them. We don't follow their perspective. We're not with them all the time. So it's definitely not an LGBTIQ plus book. In saying that, the character that we follow, Neil, claims to be nothing. I guess you might say asexual, but he just claims to be nothing at all. He's asked at one point in the book which way he swings, because one of the guys on the team is gay, and they accept him, which is fine, but obviously the question came up. And he says, well, I don't swing either way. I'm not in the mood for a relationship or anything like that. So we really don't know what he is. Not that everyone has to be placed into a box, but that's why I find it interesting that they're calling this LGBTIQ+, when it's really not that at all. So, yeah. So do be mindful of that. However, hopefully things will change over the course of time, and we'll get that LGBTIQ plus theme shining through. But for what it was, I really enjoyed the book. I loved learning about this new made-up sport called Exy, and I loved getting to know the team and all the drama that came with it. It was a great book, and I gave it 4.5 stars. The next book and final book that I picked up in this past week was this book, Escape by Ian Rob Wright. This is an adult horror, and I gave this book also 4.5 stars. So while there have been no 5-star books that I've read so far, I have given a number of books 4 and 4.5 stars, so we've been close. This is my first non-Damien Verse series standalone that I've read by Ian Rob Wright, and really interesting backstory. So this is my 5th book in total that I read of Ian Rob Wright's, and when I read my first book of his, which was in December of last year, called The Housemates, I messaged Ian Rob Wright to thank him for the amazing book. I don't think I've ever read a better adult horror than The Housemates by Ian Rob Wright, so I do highly recommend it if you would like a really good horror, but be mindful, it's adult horror. The line is not only crossed, we go leaps and bounds beyond the line because it's adult horror. Ian Rob Wright wrote back to me, and we had a bit of a discussion, and he recommended this particular book to me, Escape, because it is the most similar of all of his works to The Housemates. I can see why. I can see the comparison between the two, and I'm glad he recommended it, and I was thrilled to pick it up based on his recommendation. So to the premise of this book, and in this standalone, Cheryl wants to get to know her co-workers. That's the only reason she agreed to go on a company outing. She and 6 of her colleagues are going to be locked inside a room with only their wits to help them. If they escape in time, there will be prize money. Fail, and the repercussions might be deadly. Cheryl will soon find out that the people she works with all share a secret, one they are willing to kill for. So to my thoughts. A slow start, which is why I deducted the 0.5 stars, but seriously, Ian Rob Wright is the horror author for me. This book came as a personal recommendation, as I said, from Ian Rob Wright, and I can see why he recommended this one. It was just as good as The Housemates. The way Ian can take ideas and make them into a horror that is an actual horror never ceases to amaze me. I plan to read many more of his books, and so far I've read 5, as I said earlier, and the man has not let me down yet. If you are looking for a fantastic adult horror, I highly recommend this one. It was a slow start. Look, I'm always going to be honest. Even if I think a book is amazing, but the start is slow, I will tell you. And this was a slow start. But with the setup being that Cheryl's invited on to this company escape room, to cut a long story short, there was just a bit of things going on at the beginning that really just didn't intrigue me at all. But once we got to the escape room, things went down, and oh my gosh, Ian Rob Wright knows how to make things work in horrors. There's so much I want to say, but it's so spoilery, so I can't. But all I can say is the guy's an absolute master when it comes to writing horrors. But if the idea of a horror book set in an escape room appeals to you, then I highly, highly, highly recommend picking up this book. I had a lot of fun with it, and if not for the slow start, it would have received 5 stars. All of Ian Rob Wright's books that I've read so far have received high ratings from me. If you're looking to get back into, or to continue on with your adult horror reads, I am the cheese that stands alone that recommends put down your Stephen King books and pick up Ian Rob Wright. The guy is a master, and I am very, very surprised that he doesn't get as much exposure as Stephen King does. And so, it's always good to find hidden gems, and I do believe that Ian Rob Wright is a hidden gem that is not talked about anywhere near enough at all. So if you get the opportunity and any of what I've said has intrigued you, pick up this book or any number of Ian Rob Wright books and give them a go. You will find out yourself, if you love adult horror, that the guy is an absolute master. I'm not just saying that to string words together. I've read a number of horrors that very much let me down, but Ian Rob Wright knows how to write good horrors, and he has not let me down at all yet. So I highly, highly, highly recommend him. Alright, so let's look forward to what I'm planning to read in the upcoming week. Given that the 1st of August will be occurring on a Tuesday, I will be reading one book in those last 2 days of July, so we'll save that for the end of my next reading vlog. But the 3 books that I plan to read this week are a book that I have been waiting way too long to read, and here it is, Lament at Loon Landing by Josh Lanyon. This is the 6th book in the Secrets and Scrabbles series by Josh Lanyon, an adult cozy mystery series, and I have really loved this series so far. We follow a male protagonist, which is not the norm for cozies. Like 95% of cozies, we follow a woman, and this male protagonist just so happens to be gay. That is not the point of the series, but he just so happens to be, which is also very much not a norm when it comes to cozies, and it's another hidden gem of a series, so I highly recommend it if you want to read something different when it comes to your cozy mysteries. So this book has been on the back burner. My goodness. It was originally meant to be released in October last year, and it was finally released in physical form about a month ago. So I'm finally gonna be reading this one, and then I can read book 7, which was already out. There was a lot of complications with the series. You can go ahead and look up what was going on with this series if you want in your own time. But finally getting to this book, which I'm really happy to get to. And then next month I'll read book 7 and then be completely up to date with Secrets and Scrabbles, which will make me really happy. And then following that, I'm going to be reading another Casey West book, which makes me really excited. So that's By Your Side by Casey West. This is a YA straight romance. And when it comes to YA straight romances, the reason why I'm saying it that way is because I do read a ton of LGBTIQ plus books on this channel. But when it comes to YA straight romances, I do very highly trust Casey West. I've read 3 of her books, and I have, on the whole, loved the books of hers I've read so far. So I have a goal to read a lot more Casey West throughout the course of this year. And so starting with this one, By Your Side, and really intrigued to see how that will go. And then I'm going to be picking up this book, The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis, which is book number 6, the second last book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. So once I finish this book, then next month I can read the final book and have that series wrapped up. But yeah, despite the fact that I didn't have a 5-star rating for any of my books this week, they were still pretty good books. So either 4 or 4.5 stars. So very, very close to being amazing. And with all the books that I'm reading this coming week, I'm very excited for all of them. And who knows, maybe one of those will be my first 5-star. Only time will tell. But that is it. That is where I'm going to leave it for this week's reading vlog. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. It really does help my channel. Hit the thumbs up if you can. Hit that notification bell, ding, so you can be notified each and every time I do upload a video. And if you'd be so kind, it'd be great to read a comment from you if you'd like to leave one. But at the end of the day, I'm going to let you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye, everyone.